I'm Dana K. White. I am the author of 3 books up there, including Decluttering at the Speed of Life. Okay, so it's about to be summer. Summer is loosey-goosey, even for people who don't have their years based around a school calendar. There is something about summer because a lot of the normal things that you do, maybe take a break in the summer or change their schedule in the summer, there is just something about this time of year that's loosey-goosey. If you're watching this at another time in the future when it's not about to be summer, loosey-goosey times happen. Crazy times happen, especially for people like me who have project brains where we throw ourselves into something. During the summer, for me, it's like volunteering at Vacation Bible School, going on vacation, just having different times, different things that make life look different and can often result in the house having this like, oh my word, what happened? I was doing so well. So I'm going to talk about what to do in those times where life happens, things get kind of back out of control after you have been doing well for a while, how to deal with those times. I do want to say, if you are a regular watcher, I'm going to talk at the end kind of about how summer is going to affect the YouTube channel here. So anyway, most of y'all don't care, but for those of you who do, watch that, okay? So what do you do when life gets crazy and you suddenly look around and think, oh my word, it happened again. My house is back to being a disaster. Well, the number one thing I want you to remember is restart, don't reinvent. This is the tendency of people who have brains like mine. Maybe you have finally been sensing some traction. You've been focusing on your daily stuff. You've been doing decluttering. You've been seeing a real impact on your home. And then you just stop focusing on it for a while and it gets back out of control. The tendency for someone like me is to think, okay, well, that didn't work. Okay, well, that's another failed method that I have tried. Oh, well, I got to come up with something new. Don't reinvent, restart. Remember that what was working for you was working for a reason. Go back to that instead of trying to come up with a new way, because that is how my brain works. It's like, well, I got to have a plan. I've got to have this major plan. Well, do you know what actually changed my house? Doing my dishes and doing 5-minute pickups and getting stuff out of my house. Like, that actually changed my house. But that doesn't mean that in loosey-goosey times like summer, I don't have days where every single thing is out of place in my home. Okay, so what I have to remember is what actually works, instead of thinking it's a total complete failure for my house to be out of control again. Okay, instead I just need to go back to what works. I don't need to come up with a new plan. Don't give up on what was working because you have times where the house gets out of control. I'm going to tell you a little secret, even about people whose homes are generally always great. They have times too where life is different and schedules are wonky and focuses are on different things where their house gets out of control for them, okay? Go back to what works. Don't reinvent something new. Remember what worked and go back to it, okay? Second thing to remember, in this time where you're feeling, okay, I've got to get back to I've got to focus on my house. I have short, weird, unpredictable times when I can focus on my home. Finish small things instead of starting and abandoning big things, okay? Remember the power, remind yourself the power of taking it there now, of acting on small things and finishing them completely. There is so much more value in doing 3 things all the way than there is in starting 20 things and just half doing them. What I mean by that is if you do 3 things all the way, let's say that you think I'm going to spend a little bit of time, I've got an awkward pause, I am going to spend a little bit of time working on this pile that has somehow gathered at the back door of my house, okay? Pick something up, establish whether it's easy, it already has an established home in your house, or Ask the decluttering questions. If I needed this, where would I look for this first? And take it there now. Take it to its home and put it away instead of making all these little piles of where all the stuff that has collected in this huge pile at the back door while life has been crazy and we've been doing baseball tournaments and blah, blah, blah. Instead of making all these little piles of all the things that you're gonna do, just take one item at a time to its actual home. This finishing of one thing is going to take you farther than if you make all those little piles, because this time is unpredictable. You may only have 3 minutes or 5 minutes or an hour to work on this space. You don't know when that is going to be over, right? Because you lose energy, you lose focus, or somebody reminds you that, oh, I'm supposed to be at such and such thing right now, okay? So use your time wisely by finishing small things instead of starting and abandoning big things, okay? That is gonna take your house so much farther. Remember, for me and for so many people who use these methods, I never actually made progress. My house stayed in a state of being out of control when I did the big projects that I never finished. When I started focusing on finishing small things one by one, that is when my house actually changed, okay? So even though it seems like a better idea to say, no, I'm gonna do this right, I'm gonna do this big, that didn't change my home. That kept my home in a state of being out of control. What changed my home was finishing small things one at a time, okay? The other thing to remember is if you will do that, if you will make real decisions about individual items, meaning you take them to their home, okay, whether that's already established or whether it is being established by the take it there now method, or you get them out of your home for everything that you make a final decision on, it has a real home or it leaves your house, that is one less thing to be part of the explosion, okay? When I truly embrace the reality of the size of my house and the spaces that I had, when I got stuff out of my house that had no place to go, either because I would never go looking for it or because it was just more than I actually could possibly have a place for in my house, as I got stuff out of my house, then when life got crazy, the explosions were so much smaller. And it was really just a matter of picking things up and putting them away because they had an established home. But when I had more stuff in my house than could possibly fit, when I had stuff in my house that didn't have a home, that's when the explosions happened. There were huge amounts of stuff and it was completely overwhelming. But the more stuff I get out of my house, even when life gets loosey-goosey, even when things get out of control, it's nowhere near the huge, overwhelming job that it used to be, okay? That only happened when I was making real decisions and acting on those decisions about individual items one at a time. And last of all, when you feel the loosey-goosiness, the tendency is to look around and say, I don't know where to start, I don't know where to start. You do know where to start. Okay, do the dishes. If you can only do one thing, do the dishes. If you can't even do one whole thing, do some dishes. Always having a place to start, knowing that the dishes are where I'm going to start, that is huge in this time of everything is weird, I just don't know what's going on. Do the dishes. Having something to start with is incredibly effective in helping you really truly gain that traction over those daily tasks that you do every day or whenever you actually have that moment and think, I got to work on my house. I'm going to start with the dishes, okay? If you can focus on the dishes and the 5-minute pickup whenever you think of it, that will keep the craziness, the out of controlness from happening, or it will get you back on track when the craziness and the out of controlness has happened, okay? What are the 3 things we talked about today? How to make it through the loosey-goosey summer and keep your house under control. Number 1, don't reinvent. Don't reinvent. Restart. Do what has been working. Go back to those basics, okay? Finish small things instead of starting and abandoning big things. That's going to take you far. And remember, when you don't know what to do the dishes. Do a 5-minute pickup. Those are the two things to get your house under control and to keep your house under control. All right. I hope you have a great summer. For those of y'all who stay to the end to find out what I was going to talk about, so it's summer. It has been a personal choice of mine for the last, I would say probably 11, 12 years of doing this thing that I do online to take summers off, because it is a mental thing for me to be able to just say, I'm focused completely on my family, because life is loosey-goosey in the summer. Even though my kids are much older now and they're driving themselves to things, I want to be able to focus on my family and not be like, everybody, I've got to go get blog posts and podcasts and YouTube videos and all those things out. So I last year did continue making YouTube videos because Reed needed to keep his job. Don't worry, Reed is keeping his job. However, he will be gone next year. And so our goal is to get videos done this summer for next year. And I know that it can feel like, well, why don't you go ahead and put a video out every week, even when you're doing that? It's going to just reduce the numbers that we have to do for next year. And there's just something about being able to work hard on it without constantly having that deadline every week. So anyway, that means we can work on it really hard for 2 weeks and then not think about it for 2 weeks, that kind of thing. All right. So I will not be putting out videos probably most of the summer. He thinks that we'll be able to put out 1 or 2 here and there. I will probably put out the fried okra video if we make that. But just so you know, I'm not disappearing, but I am going to take a break. And I'm just telling you, it's the thing that keeps me going. I mean, there's something about giving myself that rest that allows me to keep going. And that's how I've been able to do this for the last 13 years and not neglect my family. So that's my number one. They're number one. So just letting you know that that's the deal for the summer. And make sure you subscribe, partly so we can get to 100,000, but also so that when a video does come out or when I come back in August, you're more likely to actually see it if you're subscribed to the channel. So, all right. Also make sure I will be sending out newsletters because I'm going to get those scheduled ahead of time. I will be sending out newsletters just to help you stay on track. You can go sign up for my newsletter at aslobcomesclean.com/newsletter. All right. Bye.